It's good to be alive. We're on the drive home with Dan and Taylor, and we're out at local high school learning all about what students of Townsville have available to them. And we're going to hear all about ICT, Information and Communication Technologies now. We have Tim Villalba, who is the head of the ICT department here. Tim, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How's yourself?
Very good. Now, I've mentioned this a couple of times about how different school is when I was going to school. I wish we had an ICT department. I did an IT class. We made a game of Frogger type something. We might have done a couple of databases and things like that. But you guys have some really amazing programs and connections with international tech billionaires. Tell us a little bit about what that means for the student experience and what is the breadth of things they can learn in the ICT.
Yeah, ICT is a really interesting area. We're also coupled with another department called Human Technologies, and what we look at there is around about how technologies have changed over the years. You know, some of the things that we used to teach have now gone to the mainstream in the other areas. Like Photoshop used to be like, oh, that's an IT sort of only subject, whereas now it's being used in all sorts of departments. Yeah. So it's about like what we do in the ICT department is really about cutting edge and what's out there, and how can we make it for the future generations? Yeah, awesome. And doing those sorts of things. One of the really exciting projects that we do is in Year 10, we do an Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow. So the students have to have a look around the school, see what sort of problems there are, and then they have to come up with a digital technology solution that can try and help out with that. One of the greatest ones we had is Nikhila and his partner. They made a facial recognition role marking system.
Wow.
And it was, what was really cool about it was two-factor. So what that sort of meant was like there's a bit of security built into it, and kids couldn't sort of fake it with it.
Wow.
Most people want to
sort of mask or something.
Yeah, so if they held up a mask, it wasn't going to sort of work. So he had to they had to scan their ID card as well with it. Yeah. So he built all those sorts of things into it as well. So, and that's just one sort of example. We tinker with a whole lot of other things, security alarms and things like that, and recyclable bins that are smart bins and all these sorts of things. So yeah.
Wow. So just back to the project that Nikhila was a part of. Is that something, and are those projects something that are then implemented in school and continue to be?
We'd like to.
Yeah.
There's some privacy issues there with us, scanning kids' faces and things like that. But yeah, no, and like I said, it's more about the kids dreaming and not having limits at this stage. When they do have to go out in the big bad world, that's where they've got to then start.
Yeah, very good.
Look at those other sorts of things.
So what sort of work out there is ICT based? So it's a lot more than just gadget tinkering now. The industry is growing and growing. So like, what are the main areas of expertise that are being looked at in the workforce now?
Yeah, and look, that's a really broad question. So some of the traditional ones or the catch cry ones at the moment are around artificial intelligence. So self-driving cars. Queensland's a real leader in self-driving cars. Yeah. We went to a presentation at the University of Queensland, and they had just recently had a lot of their guys poached by Google and Facebook and Uber and those guys. And so the self-driving cars, that's sort of a big one. And then they're looking to expand that out into planes and all sorts of other things as well. They had another sort of one that was really cool, and it was a robot, a submarine robot that would go along, and it would spear crown of thorns starfish.
Wow.
And
that's really cool.
They said and so one of the things they had to try and overcome was the environmental people wanted to make sure that it didn't accidentally spear a safe starfish. So they were able to 3D print some starfish, and it was able to tell the difference between a 3D printed crown of thorns and the other one. That's how accurate it was.
That's incredible.
And what have students from the program here gone on to?
Yeah, heaps of things. We've had, I know one of our students has been working with the American government. I think it was in NASA. It was sort of highly secret, so we couldn't sort of find out sort of too much what he was sort of doing there. But yeah, all sorts of things. We've had heaps of students going to do their PhDs and work in all sorts of areas. And I think, like I always tell my students, it's really important that they learn about digital technologies and ICTs. But what's probably even more important, and this is what we're getting from industry as well, that they're creative. And a lot of people think that ICTs is just, we just learn how to code, but it's teaching them how to code, but use that in a creative way, and they can create things with it. So it's just another creative tool for them.
Definitely.
Terrific. Now we have one of the ICT students here with us, Nikhila. Nikhila, how are you going today?
I'm very well. How are you?
Very, very good. Now, you have quite the school resume, some of the programs and conferences and things that you have been a part of. I'm just going to rattle off a few here, and we're going to find out what has been your favourite of these. So, state finals of the 2018 Brain Bee Challenge.
Yeah.
You attended the 2019 Concordia International School of Shanghai Model at the United Nations X Conference. Then you were selected for the QUT STEM Camp, and you've been selected for this year's National Youth Science Forum. Wow.
Yeah.
What's been your favourite of these experiences?
I would probably say the QUT STEM camp I went on, mainly because the sort of project, there were multiple projects you could pick from when you went to that camp, and the one I picked was a data science one. So we were like sort of put into a real world situation where we had to, we were given this huge data set, and it was about, people's like, people from QUTs, like what major they're doing, what degrees.
Yeah.
And we had to predict what movies they liked.
Oh, wow.
So we're taking like unrelated data.
Yeah.
And we're finding patterns in it through really advanced math and computers.
Yeah.
And, data models. And we're finding, what, movies they like. And it's applicable to the real world because this is the exact same technology that Google uses to give you recommendations on YouTube. Netflix uses to give you recommendations on Netflix.
That's amazing.
Did you end up finding out what movie they liked?
Well, what we based our success on was like how successful we were at predicting, so how good our models were.
Yeah.
And I think we had a bunch of groups, and we were very like close together in our like the success of our models.
Do you have a number? What sort of accuracy?
I can't remember.
Okay.
But
we'll just take your word.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, being a part of the ICT program here at school, how has that shaped or inspired you in your goal? Tell us a little bit about what you want to do after school, and then how school has shaped that or helped you to figure that out.
Yeah, so I remember in my early years of ICT, it's very much about sort of like exploring, what's in, like the technology field. So we did like animation, we did, like game development, we did all these sorts of things. And from there, I sort of found, my sort of niche, which was, like programming and, like all of that. And I think the school is really, by exploring all those different pathways in especially your junior years, I think the school has really helped me to find sort of what I want to do in the future and in the long term, and what will make me, happy in a future job.
Yeah, awesome.
And Nikhila, for other students listening, why should they look at getting into ICT or STEM studies at school?
Yeah. So this is really interesting because we're thinking about the future now.
Yeah.
And what I always think about is automation. We go into Woolies now and we see that, like there's not a lot of checkout counters. There's like self-checkout counters. And that's sort of a degree of automation where, Woolies is like, it's cheaper to pay a computer than a human being. So we'll go with the computer to an extent. And we need people to, engineer those systems. We need people to, program them. And, and like technology, being in the technology field, those people will, always have jobs because, there's people who need to make these things. There's people who need to, maintain these things. And it's just it's a growing field even to this day. So.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Definitely.
I think I'm always surprised by the new technologies, automation, the things that, you don't have to do anymore. It's fantastic. And Nikhila, if you're, going to go out and develop some of those things, good on you, all the power to you, and good luck, mate.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for telling us all about ICT here. It sounds fantastic. This is 99.9 Live FM. It's good to be alive.